Hey, so are you a first-time home buyer? Well, if so, today we are going to be talking about mistakes that sometimes first-time home buyers make, and we are going to get started right now. Here, welcome back to the channel, or welcome to the channel if this is your very first time here. This channel is literally everything you need to know about eating, working, playing, sleeping, and living in the Salt Lake City, Utah area. If that is of interest to you, consider subscribing down below so you don't miss our weekly videos. We hear from people like you all the time that are looking to make a move or to relocate here to Utah, and we absolutely love it. So if you are thinking about making a move in a month or 6 months or even a year from now, feel free to reach out, give us a call, shoot us a text, or send us an email, and it would be our pleasure to connect with you. Hey there, so today we are going to be talking about some mistakes that you can avoid when purchasing a home here in Salt Lake City, Utah. So let's hop right into it. Mistake number one is just focusing on maybe the things that don't matter most. And let me explain what that means. So I've had many different experiences where people will walk in, come into the house or in the area. They love the neighborhood. They love the school district. It's the perfect commute, but then they'll get held up on a couple of different things like, the carpet color isn't right, or, the paint color on the wall isn't what I want, or it's a 2-car garage and I really want a 3-car garage, or the backyard is maybe a little smaller than I wanted, or whatever it is. Sometimes those things get people held up of like, oh man. But a lot of times those things can be easy fixes. You don't like the paint color? Repaint it, right? You don't like the carpet? Rip out the carpet and try something new. Just lots of different things. And let me give you a quick example. My husband and I, several years ago, we found a house that we loved the neighborhood. We loved the school district. We loved the commute, how close it was to both of our jobs. And so it was in a neighborhood that we had been thinking about getting into for years. Well, this house actually had sat on the market for a very long time. In fact, ended up being a short sell. And the people that had the house, they left in the middle of the night. So you really, you walk into this house and it really looked trashed. There was garbage everywhere. It wasn't the paint color that we liked, not the tile that we liked. There were a lot of things that we kind of were like, okay, we don't love this, we don't love this, we don't love this. However, we loved the neighborhood, we loved the school district, we loved how close it was to our commute. So long story short, we actually ended up purchasing that house, and really we ended up kind of not gutting it because it had a lot of good bones to the house, but we redid the carpet, we redid the paint, we redid a lot of different things, but a lot of them were very minor. A lot of things, they really weren't big expenses, and the actual house and neighborhood itself, years later when we ended up selling it, it appreciated for a lot more. So kind of moral of the story is, if you find a house in a neighborhood, if it checks a lot of the boxes that you're looking for, that house typically will appreciate over time and will hopefully end up being a good fit for you. So just something to keep in mind. Just focus on the things that you know that are positives, and hopefully those positives will outweigh the negatives. And if the positives don't, then that house is probably not the right one for you. But number one, focus on the things that you can control. We could control redoing the carpet. We can control painting the house. We could control taking all the trash out. So, really focus on those things that you can control, and then don't focus on the ones that you cannot control. If there's deal breakers, then that one's probably just not going to be the right fit for you. But if there's enough things where you're like, okay, I can repaint, I can recarpet, I can clean out the house, it might be one of those places that might be a great fit for you. So that's number one. Number two, this one's a really hot topic. Number 2 is focusing on interest rates. So yes, because we have seen lots of increases in interest rates this past year, lots of home buyers have gotten scared of like, oh, I can't even purchase now because it's, the interest rate has gone from 2, 3, 4, 5, now we're in the 6s, right? Interest rates have continued to increase. Well, that has, scared away a lot of home buyers. However, let me share something with you, and this has kind of been an interesting, as we're navigating this real estate market now, and we've seen the shift because of interest rates, because of an increase in inventory, all these different things. We've noticed some different things. So number 1, it's not uncommon now for sellers to offer some kind of, buyback rate or some kind of, even like a seller incentive. This actually just recently happened to one of my clients. They were interested in purchasing a house. We kind of came to negotiations with a purchase price, and then the seller also said, hey, you know what? We're going to be willing to throw in X amount of dollars for seller concessions for you to buy down, to do a buyback rate, to buy down some points for an interest rate. So it's not going to be as high, and they were willing to contribute money to that. Also, new home builds right now, a lot of builders are offering incentives to the interest rate as well, and kind of giving that seller incentive to the buyer. So if you're thinking, oh no, there's just no way I can, I don't want to buy now because the interest rates are so much higher than they were a few months ago, it may not work out for your finances, but make sure that's not your end, like, oh no, because of the interest rates. Because what we've seen, I know when my husband and I first purchased our house years ago, we had two mortgages on it, and the interest rate obviously was a lot higher than it is right now. And I remember after a couple of years, we refinanced. We were able to consolidate that into one mortgage, and it actually ended up being at a much lower rate. So a lot of times what we say is marry the house and date the rate, which basically means that if you found a house in a neighborhood, in a location that is going to work for you, that interest rate over a span of many years, historically, that will go down, and historically you would be able to refinance. So if you're feeling like, oh man, that interest rate, also just remember a couple of years ago too, we were seeing houses hit the market, you were getting multiple offers, you were having buyers were throwing out all the stops just to get their offer even looked at. They were waiving their appraisals, they were waiving, contingencies and appraisals and all of their, their due diligence that a buyer really should be able to take their time with and do the due diligence. A lot of people were just waiving all of their inspections. And in addition to that, they were paying well over list price to get into that home. So now we're not seeing that. You're not paying over list price a lot of times, not all the times, but we're seeing that. And we're in fact seeing here in Utah a lot of price drops. So if interest rates are your hold up, just think, hopefully you're not paying over list price right now. And then there might be some kind of seller concessions for you as well. So, and then later on down the road, if you need to refinance, that might also be a good possibility. So number 4, last but not least, you really want to find a real estate agent that will represent you and that you feel compatible working with. Now, this is really important, and sometimes people get confused, and especially first home time buyers, they'll say like, oh, well, I don't have enough money to, find the house and pay the real estate agent. Well, good news, lucky for you, typically on most deals, the seller pays for the commission of the buyer's agent and then also the seller's agent. So if you are buying a home, 9 times out of 10, you are not going to have to pay your buyer's agent anything depending on the contract you have, but that is typically picked up by the sellers. So the people that are selling the home, they will pay for the commissions of the buyer's agent, and they will also pay the commissions of the listing agent as well. And then kind of going along with that, you really want to find an agent that knows the areas, knows the neighborhoods, and really asks the right questions to you, and then also is going to be that advocate for you in home searching. So you want somebody that is going to find out what you want. You want somebody that is going to be willing to reach out to the different listing agents. If you've got questions for different things, you want somebody that's going to be available for you when either if you're coming into town or if you're already here, you're going to want to find somebody that's available to tour homes and to even, I've had clients that have moved in from out of state that have said, oh my goodness, like there's this house that just hit the market. I really want to see it, but I'm not going to be in town for another month, or I'm not going to be in town for 3 weeks or whatever it is, and I really want to see it. Well, a lot of times we've done a FaceTime where we'll go through the house and we'll walk through the house, and they'll say, this is actually the house that I want. I'm changing my plans. I'm coming out here tomorrow and we're walking the house and we're going to see it together. And that has worked out actually very well for some people. So just really do your due diligence in finding somebody that you feel like will represent you well and somebody that you'd be able to work with. So hopefully you found some value in that today of figuring out, hey, different mistakes to avoid when buying a home, trying not to get hung up on certain things that really won't be deal breakers, not worrying as much about those interest rates, because we do know that historically interest rates, they ebb and flow as time goes on. And then really just being able to pick areas and neighborhoods and things that would best suit your needs, and then working with somebody who you feel like will be a good advocate for you. So if you are looking to relocate or move here to Utah, please feel free to give us a call, shoot us a text, or send us an email. We hear from people like you all the time who are relocating, and we absolutely love it. So take care and have a great one. Bye.